Okay, so in this session we're going to be looking at portals from the portal competition, not the hub challenge, the portal competition. And we're going to get some of the sort of the red and the orange portals and discuss ways we could optimize those so that they could be used by other people without having to worry about poly count, for example. One of the main reasons, or one of the main methods of doing this is basically retopology and rebaking. So we'll be looking at some of that. Yeah, I think that's about it. So let's jump in. And I have to change my thing again. I always forget. Hang on. Ta-da! Wonders of technology. All right. Cool. So I have the space with all of the portals, and there's quite a few. Now, the ones we're going to be focusing on, we'll probably start with the red ones, and we'll get to the yellow ones. Or just go as we can. The first one is the one in the space, so we don't have to worry about that one. This one, for example. So let's focus on this one so we can move around. Now, this looks really cool, a lot of good detail, but as you can see, very, very high polygon, which is a little bit over the 1000 polygon target. Now, as an example of this, though, let's do a quick jump in for the... right, so this one is in Models 800. So let's look at Blender and some quick ways to update this. Now, this actually applies to pretty much many of the high polygon assets. So what we're going to do here is probably what we're going to apply to a lot of the spaces. So this is as good as any. So let's jump in. So we got portal display, 2 assets, models. Nope. Okay, let's find this again. So, okay, just got to find the object again. So, models, FBX 800. Models, nope. Okay, here we go. Models, FBX 800. There it is. Now this seems a little small, but that's fine for the moment. But once again, you can see the poly count, which is quite high. Now, what I would do to reduce the poly count, and because it's very ergonomic, no, not ergonomic, what's the word? Ergonomic, no? What's the word? Things that people do in ZBrush. Organic. There we go. Because it's very organic, yeah, there's a lot of detail in here. I don't think I got the textures on this one, so I'm not sure if there's textures, but you could bake those as well. So let's look at how we would do this. So I'm going to use a plane. As you can see, it is much smaller, but that's fine. We can scale it as we need to. I'm going to use R to rotate it, S to scale. Now, I actually think this place is kind of a mirror. G to move. Now, the magic comes in here. So if I put that on with face, I can press tab to go into edit mode. Let's go. And as soon as you put the face on, basically, it will basically allow you to trace the object underneath it. So let's sort of do our portal. Now in this case we can actually save a lot of time, theoretically, by adding a mirror. That is why. Let's try this one. I don't think that works. Control A, all transforms, so the dot is right in the middle. I'm going to get rid of this one and then try it again. Like so. That means we can trace our object. Using line, so 2 to get onto the line one, which is here. So I can press 2 and use E and just put some down. 1 to go back in a vertex mode. If you want to see that, you can put on that. There's different settings that you can use. So sometimes I'll go to here, and I think it's on, maybe, where is it? This one, viewport display, and then you can go in front. So this is always in front, even in this mode. So that could work for the moment. Let's do these ones. Now, of course, it gets a bit more interesting as we go along to these spaces. But say I might just do this. So I'm going to put that up there. Put that one there. And keep going, basically. So yeah, it's not it's not a short process. And this, because of the complexities of all these pointy bits, this might not be able to get down to less than 1,000, but you could probably get it to a much more reasonable amount, of course. So let's get some of these ones. Now here I'm going to make this clipping so it cuts in the middle, which is what we want it to do. Now sometimes you might want to turn that off just so it doesn't snap too much. Now in this case we have more of a bulge there, so I might want to do that. And therefore that. Now other tools, if I have the F2 add-on, which is in preferences, add-ons, and just type F2, I've added this. This allows me to sort of do certain things with just the F key. So if I press F, it'll make that go there, which is really cool. Saves a lot of time. Put that more in the middle. Now this might actually be doubled up on that way as well. So if I can do... Yeah, that doesn't work as well, unfortunately. Oh, that does though. So yeah, we can just shortcut half of this. Let's put clipping back on. And turn it off so it doesn't snap. Like so. Oops. And get these ones up the top as well. the clipping back on. Actually, let's move that out a bit. Now, when it comes to this sort of approach, you're actually looking more at the silhouette for the object, because when you bake it, all of this high quality technology, all of this high quality stuff will be baked onto the low. So here, for example, is very low detail. Once again, put the clipping back on. That's a bit too close to that, so we'll leave it there for now. This goes up. That's because, yeah, okay. So let's undo that because we don't want it to snap with the clipping. So E, that'll be much better. So I'd like to do sort of the top half of this, and then let's do a bake so I can sort of show what that's about. Now, with a lot of this, I'm going to turn that off and put this on instead, because that's a bit easier to see in this particular case. So just do that. Now that's maybe a little bit too low, so I'm going to use Control R to add a loop. And instead of just adding it, I'm going to move this up a little bit so I can create a smoother silhouette there. So that looks good to me. And same with this as well. Let's do that. Now in this case, we're actually going to have to do a little bit more. Now ideally you actually kind of want, it's just a good practice. I don't know if you actually need to do it anymore like you used to. Like F to do that. But quads are always good. So four-sided polygons is sort of the ideal amount if you can do that. And then it gets a bit tricky there. Let's just extrude that. Make the polygons, merge vertices at center, and then go there. And GX, yeah, there we go. And a bit higher just to catch all the details. There we go. This one could probably do with another one, so I'll put that in there. And once again, we can move that up a little bit, including that. Now, when you're looking at portals, these are sort of objects that you might like have a lot of, so you do want to keep the poly count low. And this is why we're doing something like this. Now that we could probably do another one as well, so let's Control R in there. And then we can place all these a little bit more accurately. Move that down, that can stay there. Now these ones I can blend with these. because that's fine. So the occasional triangle's fine. Don't have to worry about that. Okay. Now, just to show what it looks like at the moment, like we are actually getting the full thing because we're using mirror on 2 axes. So that's pretty cool. F to go in there. Now this one, I'm going to do some stuff like this maybe. There. I don't know if this is going to work, but we'll give it a shot. Probably doesn't work. So in this case we can use a knife. So I'm going to do K and then space, and that way we can just edit this a little bit more accurately to the object we would like to create. And then I'm going to get rid of that one with delete and dissolve edges, and then it does that, so we're going to leave it in there. Now that one we can move across, but these ones we need a bit more space. So for this one, I'm going to E to put that over here. And then I'm going to grab those two and press F. So we've got that, etc., etc. So, I'm sure you get the picture. I'll finish this one more and then we'll do a quick bake so you can sort of see what that looks like moving forward. Let's do this. E. That's fine, I think. So let's go front, extrude, 1 at center, and back to here. GX, a bit weird, GX, there we go. Okay. Now, because we got those, we could actually probably push that up a little bit more. And then this one up a little bit more there. Like so. Now, the next thing we need to do, once we've sort of made a polygon of our entire object, is unwrap it. So let's go to our mirror. Let's apply this. Let's hide this and then make sure that it is shaded smooth, so all our polygons are there. And let's just check some of the, yeah, some of these are not that great. Yeah, so we actually want to move away from that, so we might, I don't know if we can because they're joined. Which is not what we want. So let's, How can I do this quickly? Okay, I'm not going to do this once again. I don't want to bore everyone. We only got so much time. So, we're just going to imagine everything is perfect. And first we need to create a UV map for this object. So there are many ways to do this. My favorite is, let's go right up the top. So if you hold, if you press Control and click on the direction you're going, it'll find the quickest way to get there. So shift to click on or add new things, and then Control to get to the nearest one. Like so. So I can do that and go right mouse click and then go mark seam. And a seam will be very clear in a moment. Mark seam. So when we select all our, so we need to go see through, tab, select all of these. Actually, we have not finished yet. We have to do these ones as well. Seam. Then we can grab them all, and then if we just go unwrap, it'll show you why it's messed up, and that's probably because of these sort of ones there. It doesn't really know how to handle those, which is kind of fine, but under the circumstances I wouldn't mind trying to fix them. Maybe that's not possible. Okay, so we have enough to work with. So let's use UV. Whereas it seems from islands. And then we can try and pack the islands. So let's, for argument, we want to put these together and make these bigger, just so you can sort of see what we're doing. So let's rotate those. Embiggen. Now, if you're baking, these have to be inside this square. So basically, we are going to make one texture. And now this would have all of the assets in one, but for today we just want this bit. And then we can see that. Okay. Let's bake in... Where are we? Blender. Let's bake in Blender. I usually bake in Substance Painter, but that means you have to buy Substance Painter. You could also use Marmoset. Like any of these 3D tools have baking tools. You could buy an add-on for Blender that does it a little easier. There's many different approaches to this, but today we're going to use cycles. So we go to the displace tool here, cycles. Eevee doesn't do baking, cycles does. We're going to use GPU compute, and then down here we have bake. So this is where the magic happens. Now we want to create separate materials that do this. Today I'm going to focus on the normal map. But if this object had textures applied and things like that, you could bake all of those as well. We want to do the selected to active. So we're going to select that, and then this is going to be selected. So that's what we want. I will usually put maybe a 0.1, or maybe it's quite a small object, so I'm going to point 0.01 to the image texture. We'll get to that in a sec, and that's fine. So this is the main one, but our object, which we should name. So what do we do? Ring 3D low. And let's do ring 3D high. So we need our low to have a material, which it does not have at this point. So let's go back here. So we've got our low polygon object, and we need it to have a material. Doesn't matter what the name is, but let's just keep it material. Then we can go to shading, and then we have this. We can add a node. We want a image texture. You don't even need to connect it. This is for baking. So we're going to make sure this is selected, and we're going to go new. As a portal, so this is the size of a door, 1024 should be enough. You could always do 2048 by 2048 and then scale it down if you need to, or scale it down in Unity. The mintable file will be bigger than the playable files, but it's up to you on how you want to go about it. And go OK. So that texture is there now. And select it. So then we can go back to our baking. Select all of the objects we want to bake into our low poly. So there could be more than one, but in this case it's just one. Hold down, I think it's Shift. No, hold down Control. So select all the things and then hold down Control and select the last one. This should be there. And then you have bake. And that should work. Sometimes if it's not ready to go, it will give you a hint. So you could do that. If anyone has any questions, feel free to ask. Okay. So, as you can see, we actually have a normal map, and this has a lot of the detail in there, and the polygons are very small, or much lower than the original. So, that's pretty good. Now, this could be an issue with the size. For example, this one. So this might be a bit small. So let's make it a bit bigger and try again. But yeah, so there's a bit of playing around to make sure, but most of it you want this sort of result. Like it looks like there's some issues here and some issues here. We'll do a test on the larger size and then see if that goes, but other things you could do is transform all of the objects so it's correct. So let's try that. So on the high, I'm going to use Control A, all transforms. And on the low, which would be the whole object, probably, Control A and all transforms. And this is the correct size. Now, as an indication, if I go add mesh cube, that is 2 meters. So this portal is about 30 centimeters big. So if we wanted to, let's do this. Make this bigger. So about there. So it's about 2 meters big, which is probably what we want. And because we've scaled it, we're going to Control A again. Control A again. So when we set these, 0.1, that would be 10 centimeters outside of this, which is probably a good amount. Maybe 0.05. Yeah, let's do that. Okay. Once again, click all the objects, Control on that, and bake. So as you can see, it's much cleaner down here. The issue here is a little bit smaller, so you could probably clean that up with a little bit more work. But there we have it. So let's save this normal map. So here we can go to this little button here, image, save as. Let's take it to the portal display. So let's make a new one. Let's just make a new one. So a new folder, portals. Let's say 800A, I think it was. Normal. Save. And we also need our low poly. So we're going to export that as an FBX. Mona builds. Nope. Yep. Assets, portals, 800A. We're going to go selected objects because I just want that. We don't want everything. And if it's not animated or rigged, I will just put apply transform just to get that in there as well. Okay. So let's add a new portal. So for that we need Mona assets. Doesn't matter which one. Let's put it at the top there. F to focus. I'm going to unpack this so we can edit it without any issues. I'm going to get rid of the portal arch. Now notice it still has the collider for tracking it, so that's good. And we have a portals object. Let's rotate that. That seems about right. Now it's about the 2 meters mark, so that seems about right, but we can move it and do whatever we need to. Let's go shaded. And let's make a new material. Create material. And we have our normal map, which goes here. Now this will come up with an error. Make sure that is fixed. So we actually have a normal map. Then we can drag and drop. Now, of course, that would be the... if we finish the whole thing, that would be the whole thing. But as you can see... Let's do this. Yeah, let's just grab it over here. Let's make it a bit bigger so we can compare properly. Maybe even a bit more. Now, notice I did... like, some of it is messed up. So, this is definitely not nearly as good as it could be. Because I'm doing it fast. But, if you look at these two objects, for this part, it looks kind of the same. But if you look at this, the poly count is somewhat different. And this is what you would need to do for a lot of these assets, basically. So yeah. So create a low poly, bake the high poly onto the low poly, and then re-import into the asset. And then we could use something like this one. This one we can't use. This, I think I have, what is the tool? Do I have the tool in this one? Yes, poly count. So this one object has 231,000 triangles, and if you half that, that'll be polygons, so that's 130 polygons for one asset. Now, if you're designing for VR or mobile, the entire space would be about that. So this is why we need to focus on optimized meshes rather than less optimized meshes. So this approach is how you would fix this very high poly. create a low poly and do that. So that's that. This one would be, well, I don't know about this one. I didn't get the textures for this one, so I'm not sure what the results were in the animation. But this would be very similar. So if you look at the poly count here, it's quite high, when you could... Well, actually, let's have a look at this one. This one's a different one, because this has, like, good edge loops, so we might actually be able to edit this... like kind of manually, actually. So let's go to this one. Same file. So let's get rid of them. Import FBX Igor. All right. So once again, we have a high poly count, but the edge loops are very good, so we could actually edit this one quite easily. So to do that, we could right mouse, what is it? Left Alt and select. So I'm going to get every, and if you do Shift as well, you can duplicate multiple loops. So I'm going to get every second one. Now I could do... Yeah, let's do this. I'm going to grab these. Actually, that's okay. This is way too high. And multiple. So, I'm going to grab this and this. So, sweep and wings. Sweep and wings, yeah. Duplicate. Sorry, Shift D to duplicate. Right mouse click to do that. I'm going to hide those for now. Locus we can get rid of. So let's look at wings first. All right. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 1, 2, 1, 2. Actually, this is a bit faster of a curve, so I'm actually going to keep every second one. It's a little tighter in there. Ah. Ah. Come on. There we go. And this one as well. Any second. There we go. Okay, so once again, delete and dissolve edges, so you can sort of see that. That doesn't... Oh, I didn't do that right. Okay, let's try again. The other option is we just do every second one. So for curved objects, like curved objects in CG, like in optimized spaces, are always going to have what do you call it? You're always going to have to cut stuff out, basically. Let's do the same with this one. That said, you can bake the high poly onto the low poly. Sometimes you need it, sometimes you don't. So we'll see how we go. So once again, delete, dissolve edges. So notice how the most of the shape didn't really change there. So you've got that, and then you've got delete, and it doesn't really change. And that's sort of what you want to do with pretty much any of the curves. Now, if you notice these ones, there's actually not much difference. These are actually straight. This part you'll need a lot. But anything that doesn't really change the silhouette, you could probably get rid of. So I'm going to get rid of quite a few of these. So 3 of them. And 3 of them. Maybe 2 of them. Get rid of that one, that one, that one. those two. Maybe one. Let's get rid of those. 1, 2, 1, 2, and 1. So let's see. So this is the direction we're going on this one. So let's see how this one goes. So notice how the shape didn't really change that much. So we've significantly reduced the size of a lot of this. And let's do the same here. So what do we got? A lot of these ones, I think. That one. That one. I think those are okay. Those two are similar. That one, that one, that one. These two are similar. And these two are similar. Okay. Once again, we see the shape. Delete it. And it's pretty much the same thing. Now, so that's a start. But we still have a lot of polygons in these objects. So we could probably maybe start combining some of these ones. Because they're very similar. So, go to vertex, pressing 1. Let's just combine. Well, let's see. So once again, we kind of want to keep the 4 going. So we sort of want to combine 3, if we can. We don't have to, but I don't know. As I said, good habit. Now, with Blender, you actually have a few options of how to blend these. So it could be the last one, which is the white one. But in this case, I actually want the center. Actually, no. Yeah, let's just do the center. So, center, 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 and center. Oops. Okay. Do the same with the bottom ones. Center. Now we would actually throw this up the line as well. So let's do that. And we could probably, yeah, we could probably blend some more of these together as well. So let's do that. 1, 2, 3. Sure. All right, we have that. And last one. Now, on this one, it's getting a little bit hard to get around, so I'm going to select the ones I want to do. Do dot, dot, full stop, point, point on the numpad, and that will zoom in on this. So you can do that if you want to help that. Now, in this case, I'm actually going to sort of focus these on the key location of where this is going. So kind of like that. Nope. All right. Now this is kind of messy. We definitely don't need all of that, so I'm going to blend them together and make sure those are the same as well. And there we go. So we have the same shape, and I can compare the result. In the end, this probably won't even need much of a normal map. So I've got the basic shape. Normal map probably won't make much difference. Now for the ring, we're going to need, well, I don't know, what are we going to need? Does Blender have torsos? Yes. Let's do this. We don't want that many, so let's go 24. Sure. Minor segments, 4. Now this is super small, so we actually don't need that much detail. 4 or 5, but I'm going to go with 4 because this is really small. Let's make this a bit smaller. About there. Okay, so let's go that, and then that. And 24 for 1.1. And then we can rotate that. Now, once again, if you're doing curved objects, this is actually a good portal amount. It does look pretty jagged, but the poly count is also much lower. So let's grab these. And export them. I'm actually going to join them. This has animation. Ooh, that explains a lot of things. Okay. Are the wings animated as well? No, just that. Okay. So that explains that. That said, I would still create a lower polygon object. So I apologize to the builder of this space. I don't think the animation was imported with what you sent. And you didn't have enough time to get it before we things. That said, you can definitely optimize it and send it in, and then we can put it in the library if you are still interested. So, which I recommend. It's a cool portal. So with those ones, each one would be maybe the equivalent of one of these blocks. So there's that. For the purposes of this argument, though, we're going to import this, this, and this. FBX. We want to update to the new section. Let's call this just locus, I guess. This has animation, so I'm going to actually turn apply transform off. Export FBX. Okay. Once again, we're going to grab the arch here. Move this over here. So that's that. And I'm going to duplicate this one. And get rid of that. Now we have our asset here. I'm going to move that up to there. And we don't have the object. Why not? Wrong one. Yeah, okay. And locus. Cool. Try that again. Export. FBX. Locus. Export. That will update automatically. So as you can see, the poly count is quite different. And if you look at the style of it, like, you can see a little bit of it, but for the poly count saving, it's significant. Maybe I would add a few more. So because it's 4 polygons, which I didn't do a shaded, so let's do that on that. So object shade. Now unfortunately we can't update in, well, let's do it. So add mesh cylinder, no, add mesh torus. Let's go 32. That's a bit better. So let's get rid of that one. 3. Did it work? Yeah, that's a little better. I don't think I added... I didn't add... Let's hide that one. Make sure that's on. Okay. Now, this one has an animation. So you can still see it there. So that's pretty cool. And we've got this as well. What? Why? Okay. Play. Let's see what happens. So this doesn't have a material, so I don't know what is going on there. But yes. So yes. So that would be an example. Once again, the animation is a whole different workshop, but basically we're focusing on optimization. Now, so this object, if I pull up polycount, is right. Okay. So we've got this, this, and this. So this is total triangle count. Yeah. So we just want the selected ones. 1, 2, 3. So that's 7,840, which is not too bad. That said, this one, this, where is it? These 3 are 2,300. So that's basically nearly a quarter. And of course you could clean this up more and all that sort of stuff. So that's how you could do that, but have them look pretty much the same. This one has an excellent poly count, so we don't have to worry about that one. This one is interesting because we have a lot of detail with a lot of poly counts, but this one could be done with like a box and like a very, like mostly normal mapped. So you could have a much simpler polygon. So just like, what would you call it? Sort of 1, 2, 3, 4, and then just make this one object with a normal map and then bake that onto it. And this could be very low in comparison to what this is. So yeah, that would be another example of putting a high polygon onto a low polygon. This was okay, but you could definitely make it much more optimized. And this is a good example of what you can do. So the poly count is actually extremely low, but the quality is extremely high because of normal maps and texturing. So this is a great example of what you can do with normal maps. Now this one was good apart from the rocks are excellent. So these are quite low, but the rings, and once again comes back to curves, are difficult to do in spaces that need to be... Hey Lee, I just saw your comment. How's it going? So these curves would have to be dropped. These objects especially, so these are very small objects, but they have very high polygon counts. You would have to drop these to drop these by a significant amount. So I would probably, definitely remove a lot of the bolts on this, and this, and this, and this, and this, and this. So, for example, this one has quite a lot of poly counts, like 64, but you can hardly see it. So these are the sort of the decisions that you're making when you're building objects in these sort of spaces. That said, the normal mapping is great. The rocks are really good, but the sphere would need to be optimized a little bit. But more importantly is these assets have a lot of polygons that probably don't need it. What would I do? I would look at maybe halving these, like all of these. So every second one I would probably try and get rid of. Or at least maybe this one and this one is okay, but these ones are a bit smaller. So you could probably cut every second one of those. And yeah, definitely get those bolts down and rebake them. You could actually... Well, let's do it. Let's do an experiment. Hang on, where is it? So this is low poly. Where is it? Cube. Where is it? Ah, might help if we do that. Cube. So this object has a lot of objects. Most of these are. So these ones. So we want models archived. Okay. Let's see what we can do. First we need to find it. Up, archived. Oh, easy. Cool. Alright, excellent. So, I'm going to... How am I going to do this? These ones, all of these. This is my computer. Everyone's on it. I can do what I want. Okay. Don't want that. No. That's interesting. Oh. Not important. Okay. So I'm hoping, I don't know if it will, I'm hoping that we can actually get rid of some of these and it doesn't affect the UV map. So let's find out. Okay, so let's get in there. Let's keep that one and get rid of every second one here. Once again, holding Alt and Shift to multiple select and do edge loops. Excellent, perfect amount. Delete, dissolve edges. Sure. It's working great. Nope. Yep. Wait, dissolve edges, good. Now this one I want to zoom in on and get rid of probably every second, like every third line. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, nope. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, nope. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Perfect amount. Excellent. Dissolve edges. So, yeah. And let's do this one as well, I guess. So it's getting a bit tricky to see, so I'm going to do that. Cool. Every 2? Sure. If all these work perfectly, this is the perfect amount of loops that you did. Ah, so close. Alright, delete, dissolve edges. So we got that. And let's do this one as well. Let's do, yeah, every 2. Small detail. It's nice to have it, but once again, poly count is kind of everything for these kind of assets anyway. So we do that. All right, cool. All right, so I'm gonna grab all that. What's that? That's a camera. Okay. So I'm gonna delete all of these. Export. Not sure what this one was called, so let's just call it cube. That one? Yes, this one. Okay. Once again, let's create let's duplicate, sorry. Okay. Now, I honestly have no idea if this is going to work, so keep that in mind. But let's find out. So this was in our little pocket, which was portals, locus cube. It's very big, so let's scale it down. Two. Just to make it nice and neat. And then scale that down a little. There we go. And back a bit. Cool. Now we need the same material as this one. So let's go to here, select material, drag and drop. Now I don't think you can actually multi-apply. If someone in the chat knows that you can, please tell me, because this is going to take a little bit. Maybe you can, not too sure. Now I didn't touch the rock, so that's fine. But might as well make it work. Look good. Okay, now we didn't touch that one. We didn't touch that one. We did touch this one. Actually, let's make sure that we're actually looking at the right one. Yeah, much less. Okay. So you can see that some of the things aren't working as well, but if you were designing this correctly, yeah. So some issues. Once again, this is a speed run, so keep that in mind. But as you can see, like this, like it looks the same, and from a distance, you wouldn't even know. The only difference is this one, which you would have to like design around that. So there are some issues, but yeah, that looks okay. And same again, a couple of small issues, but for the most part, yeah, looks fine. So apart from some glitching, and I will admit that that's there, but like say for example, if you design this and rebaked it, or paid attention to which ones you're cutting, stuff like that, yeah, it turns out a lot better with that. And I think I needed that one. So that one looks fine, but it's also tiny. So halved some of this, not much of it, but some of it. And let's have a look. So if I do the cube, the parent, let's just select all of these. So this one is 7,962, which is still a lot, but once again, we've got that. And then 9,408. So by double, like just halving some of those, we've actually taken like at least 1,000, 1,200 polygons out of this without losing much of the quality. So if you look at those two, like even closely, like it's not, well, apart from that, we talked about that. But like these things, like, yeah. So there's a lot of savings there. Much of the other ones are similar. So this would be, once again, this one has a very high polygon count, but you would design it with the same idea. So like that bit, you would have a fair few, but you would have like 1, 2, 3, for example, rather than all of that. And all curves you do have to, once again, come down to, there are, what's the word? Caveats, like compromises. Yeah, that's the one. When doing curves, there are compromises you have to make. You cannot have a curved, like a purely curved object in Mona space and expect it to run well, especially if it's a portal and you have more than one. So even though if you have one and then you're prefabbing it, you still have to render each one, which like considers the draw calls and the poly count. So you definitely want to get the poly count down as much as possible. And yeah, so it's good to design a space with that in mind. So you can definitely have curves, but you definitely want to keep the compromise between poly count versus nice curves, using normal maps where you need to, and things like that. Same with this one, you could optimize that. And the other thing is with this one, for example, you have a mesh collider on this object. So every single polygon is counted as a mesh collider. So that is also not very performant. So you would create a lower polygon, even than the low polygon. So you'd have like 1, 2, for this is for the mesh collider. So you'd have like 1, 2, 3, 4, and then a cut over the top. The object, on the other hand, would have like maybe 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So you could definitely cut that down. What else do we have? This one is under. This one is getting up there. So let's have a quick look at this one. This would be very similar to the last one, where you would just need to cut a lot of the polygons. That said, you also have this curve here, which looks lovely, but the poly count is very high. So I would actually cut that down to like 3. So 1, 2, and 3, and then put that over the top. This is okay for the size of it, so that's pretty big. But yeah, a lot of these polygons come from these curves, which I would keep down to 1, 2, 3, rather than let's count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, a lot. So there's that. So that's that one. Some other aspects like this top part, for example, that's fine. That's good. It's just the curves, and especially this curve could be reduced significantly. And then you would be under, no problem. Same one with this one. You have a lot of curves up here. So this would be an interesting mix, perhaps, of... This could be just this, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then you could possibly do all of this with a trim sheet. So you'd have a normal map and a texture. And then you can create all this detail with a texture. And then you could have a trim sheet for a lot of this. So you have like part of the texture is this texture, part of the texture is this, and the other part is the detail. So you could definitely clean this up significantly. Some of these are very high for some reason. Let's look at that. So, right. So these are... It's a bit hard to see, actually. Ooh. There we go. I always forget about that one. So the problem here is the curves. So if I were going to design this for a low poly portal asset, maybe 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 5 polygons on each curve. Same up here. 1, 2, 3, 4 maybe. 1, 2, 3. And that would reduce this a lot. So you've got that. And then, yeah, you use normal maps. And same with these. Like, these are very high polygon. Especially for something that's not really seen, if that makes sense. So if I was going to make these where they are, I would basically do, well, okay, let's try this. I have a thing that is perfect for this, and I'm going to use it. Okay, hang on. Where is it? This one. I don't use this enough. I want to use this. Okay. Where is it? Is that it? Yes, that's it. Okay. So, pencil. Okay. So, 1... I think that small one there isn't worth it. So, 1, 2... So, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I wouldn't even worry about curving about that. 9, 10, 11, 12... 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. And that might actually be even too high. Once again, it's a very small detail. And I would have the rotation be 5. Like 5 sided. And then you could do that much easier. So that's how I would go about that. How do I delete things? There we go. Okay, so that's that one. Same with this. Much lower polygon there, and then you'll have all of this detail in less than probably 2,000. This one was good. Wireframe, very, very good example of curves. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Even this sphere. Let's go F. Once again, because it's textured and it's a very highly detailed texture, you don't really pay attention to the thing as much. So this is under the level, so that's great. Same with this one, it's under. Now this one. So, extremely high. I think of all of the spaces, this one had the most. And this would, once again, fall under baking. So you could create a torus and then bake all of this high polygon information into a low poly. That's basically it. Note also, these ones, like these are straight lines. Well, nearly straight lines. Hang on. Yeah, so if you wanted this, one, I would question if it's important enough to warrant the polygons. If it were me, I would just have 1, 2, 3. So you do have a bit of a bevel there. That's straight and that's down, because these are just steps. So is it worth the polygons? And if not, get rid of them. And then you could bake all of this onto your much lower polygon object. The bottom is a good example. So that's all very simple. You've got that. But yes, of course, the big problem is these. And yeah, once again, just the low poly, bake the high poly onto the low poly, and you could have pretty much the same result with much less. This one is interesting for a portal. It's nearly a space in itself. Once again, there's a lot of... This one's not too bad, but once again, like these... Like, you've done a lower poly here, but a higher poly here, which is a bit of a weird one, and, like, across you don't need. So, that way is important, but this way is not. So, delete, 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 and then just export the width of that. So, the poly count is better, but a lot of these you don't actually need, for example. So anything, once again, it's all about the silhouette. So that's pretty straight. So I would maybe have 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 3 polygons here. And that would look the same. That one was good. This one was a good example of where texture would be better. So this curve is actually okay, but this is definitely too high polygon. So we actually have 4, because this was meant to be animated, which is great. So I would make this one object basically a alpha texture. And then you could probably do it on a just a plane. So this would actually be one polygon with one texture mapped onto it. But as for the project, we wanted one texture. So you could have like a strip down the bottom that is this edge part. And then you could like flatten the UV map across that so it tiles, and you could just keep going. And then have the rest of the texture be this object, and then you could make many of these and animate them as you see fit. So yeah, the big one with this one is just making this shape, or these shapes, a texture. So all of this is actually pretty good. It's this part. And that would be, I don't know how many there are. Hang on. 1. Yeah, that. 1. So yeah. So that would be that one. What else do we have? This one. This one 1, and this one is under the 1000. So this one is a good example of taking textures, using shaders for really interesting effects. Some other effects to create sort of the effect of light coming through. You could possibly make it a little bit more impactful by having these like hover or move a little bit, but apart from that, really good job. This one I was surprised. This is actually less. So you have a lot of bricks, but each brick is ridiculously small. So like a 4 polygon, like a 6-sided. So this one actually... So let's select them all. Is triangle count, divide that by 2. So you're looking at... This is one of an English teacher in my off time. 17 divided by 2 equals 85. So it's 850 polygons. And with animation, very impressive result. So that did very well. Now, this one's tricky. The refraction effect looks really cool. But the problem is we've got a lot of curves that have a lot of polygons. So this one object, if you can see, is, yeah. So this one is 4,400. So this one alone is 2.5. The only way I would think of doing this possibly with the same effect is either cutting a lot of the polygons that aren't curved. So say some of these, like you might not need these two, for example. So you could clean it up that way. Or you make all of this one and use a double-sided shader and a texture. And then use a trim sheet to sort of have off and on. That was my only thought of getting that down. So yeah, so this is a high poly, so it's okay, but you would ideally you would want it less, and that's the only way I can think of getting this particular style. If of course you only had one portal, maybe two, or they were important portals, this might be okay. But yeah, yeah, there's that. This one's tricky. Yeah. The shapes, and this comes down to choosing, what do we call it? Designing your objects with the limitations of the space that you're creating to. So these are good, the black ones are good, but the see-through cores are difficult. That said, so just the yellow ones is, yeah, 360,000. So this is 150,000 polygons just for this. You could optimize, so the circle is much less, and then possibly you could create something, but yeah, this is very high polygon because of the choice. Another approach could be using doing one shape or a couple of shapes and then using a texture, a double-sided texture on this object to sort of look like it's a double-sided, even though it's actually quite a simple shape, and an alpha texture with a double-sided shader. So that would be another approach to this particular style. But yes, this particular approach to a portal creates complications with low polygon objects. Could be done, but yeah. This one's animation was really cool. It had different layers, so every time you got closer, it sort of wrapped up. Problem is, wireframe's quite high. This would be very similar to the first one, where I would do a much lower polygon and then bake the high poly content or detail, including the diffuse and the normal, onto the low polygon and do all the same thing again. So you could definitely make this work in a low poly environment, but you would have to do the low poly version and bake the high poly onto the low poly. So yeah, definitely possible. High baking. This one was very low poly. Excellent animation there. This one, all curves. So, yeah, this one is tricky because you have some like interesting designs, but you could cut a lot of this down. I don't know if you could get this under sort of the 1,000 mark, but you could definitely do better. So this, let's do the thing again. This line here, too big. Hang on, let me figure things out. That one, okay. So this line here, and kind of this line here, is not needed. This line, this line, this line, not needed. This line, not needed. Some of these lines are probably not needed. So yeah, there's a lot of shape here. Whoops. These ones on the corner, I have to turn that around a bit. Let's go wireframe. There we go. These two are not needed. So a lot of these polygons aren't actually needed for this to keep exactly as it is. That said, you would still need to probably cut down a lot of the shapes to simplify the very high polygon to something lower. Triple's been very good with his polygons lately. These are amazing. This one is lower poly count. That was fine. This one is a good example of polygons you don't need. So this is a square basically with a circle in the middle. You could get rid of most of all of that. And then have sort of the shapes around here. And then you'd have like that sort of shape to the corners of the square. And then the square would be, once again, simple shape there. And same with these. You could probably go 1, 2, or 1, 2, 3, depending on the detail that you want in there. Oops. But because it's black and you can't see it, that might be quite easy to cut down as well. So you could definitely reduce a lot of those polygons, even keeping the texture. So that would be probably pretty easy to do. This one was fine. This one was also fine. This one, very high polygon. So, and this one I can't even imagine trying to cut down. So I'm not really sure what you could do here. So this was 160, so that's 8,000 polygons just for that object. And yeah, I can't imagine any way to reduce that. So as a design choice in a space, that would be pretty cool. As a portal, especially of more than one portal, I would not recommend this one just because the poly count is too high. You could possibly do the sideways one with a couple of textures, maybe. But yeah. This one is very similar to a lot of polygons that might not be needed. So, the detail is kind of there, but you can't see it. So I'm wondering if you could just make a much more simple version and get rid of a lot of the detail. So a simplified version of this, because you can't see the detail per se, and there's a lot in there. So for some reason, there's a lot of stuff in here. So once again, just simplifying would be the main approach to that one. Mackett or Richard is amazing at his poly counts. So we've talked about this one in regards to how so this is a good amount of curve for a cylinder of this size. So the bigger it is, the more you need. So balancing all these sorts of things out. But notice how like there's a straight line and there's no edges in there at all. So this is a prime example of how you would design a polygon for the detail. So that's a good example of what you can do with curves. And as much as you can see it, you don't really pay attention to it, which is kind of what you want. That's the compromise with most polygons. So there we go. So that's all the polygons. That's all the portals. So as noted, a big part of it is either simplification or normal map baking. And creating these on assets. So with that in mind, the last thing I would like to do is all of the portals basically, if we're going to add these to a library as portals, we need to simplify these to, let's say, a maximum of 3,000 polygons. So 6,000 triangles. Like, this is still high, I think, maybe, but we could probably keep it in the library as a portal for that amount. So by using some of the techniques that we've looked at in this session, basically I would like you to create your asset. Now, to go into the library, we're going to get you to make a prefab and a Unity package of that prefab, and we'll double check and clean it up at the end. But basically, we have to make these as portals, and therefore we need to create portals. So, what we would like to do, now this is a mess because basically I did this as fast as possible. It wasn't so important. That said, if you want to go in the library, we do need an organized folder structure, so we can keep the textures and they don't overlap with other people, to make sure that the textures are all uniquely named and put in places to create your asset. So what I will do is do a quick example of what the prefab approach is, and I will come up with a hierarchy or a project a naming system of textures and materials and animations, so that we keep them all separate and controlled in that environment, so we can make that library a very easy asset to build to, and organized for future builders. So let's use this as an example. So let's hide all of these because I want to keep this very clean. So hide. Cool. Hide. So many portals were entered. It's great. Excellent. Well done, team. Okay. Is that it? That's it. And get rid of this one as well. Okay. So let's say we have our portal. Once again, I'm going to give you the naming, but as an example, and I will update this once I figure out what is the best approach. So I'm going to do portal prefab and then your name. Okay, so let's do portal name underscore artist name. That way you get credit, and we also definitely have no chance, hopefully, of ever doubling up anything. Now, of course, you would need to set up your assets correctly. So with our box collider, we probably want it a bit bigger. Let's say to there. So we've got that. Spawn point is where we want it. Of course, we want it facing away from the portal, so when you arrive, you're facing away from the door. All of your assets need to go in the assets folder. This would include any reactors or animations if you have them. So in this case, we've just got the FBX because I didn't do any of the animation stuff, but you could put that there. So you would have everything under the assets folder. These files aren't as important. This one definitely is. So let's go portal once again. Portal name. Maybe just portal name. So portal and the name of your asset. Just so people can have a basis to start and then name it as they see fit. This will also make sure that the name is unique, at least if they add one, but if they add more, then they'll have to change the name as well. Okay, after that, no, I want that there, project. After that, So we have our new finished, ready to go portal. I'd recommend maybe testing it, so do a quick playground test and make sure you can see it and things like that. I would like you to so let's rename this to an old one. So let's just do X5 because I used that previously. So let's imagine there is a new prefabs folder. Drag this into the prefabs folder. It may come up with original or variant. Original is what you want. And then as a prefab, you can right mouse click on it and then go export package. And then it will pull in all of the things that it requires in this export file. So we have your FBX, we have the prefab, and the spawn point. If there are animations, if there are reactor, like if there's anything else like shaders you might need, then it will be there as well. So you'll probably tick everything and then go export, save the unit package, and then send that into the source that we add as well. So basically that is the approach. The main thing is make a portal, make it a prefab, export the prefab. And you have a unit package ready to send into the library that anyone can use, and builders will love you for it. So there's a lot of that. Okay, so that's pretty much it for portals. I'll put all this in a document that is accessible so all of the builders can see it. And as I said, for the library, we're going to be probably aiming for about a 3,000 poly count total maximum. If it's more than that, we'll probably have to ask you to either update it or we can't include it. We could maybe accept like a couple of materials depending on the textures, but the textures are very low. The materials are okay to have 1 or 2, but once again, the smaller or the less, the better. So keep that in mind when you're creating your portals. So yes, I'll probably do a tutorial on a lot of this. This is quite useful information. So I'll get that done in hopefully the next week or so. Apart from that, I think I'm going to wrap it up. I've been talking non-stop for an hour and 45 minutes now. There's a lot of stuff. Hopefully that's helped. And if you have any questions, of course, jump in the Discord, and we can help you out with getting your assets into the first, I guess, portal library, which would be pretty cool. Okay, with that, I'll leave you to it, and have a nice day. Happy building.